Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning, Monday through Friday. It's a daily show, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. We've got so much to cover this morning, but how's your weekend? Text me, let me know, 309-451-9299. My weekend was great. I got to see a lot of y'all. I got to actually meet one of our listeners. His name is Hansel. Big shout out to Hansel, and big shout out to Emma, his granddaughter. She is 10 weeks old. 10 weeks old. Welcome to the world, Emma. Hopefully, the world is going to be a better place for Emma. And I'm excited. I am very optimistic about the future. And it was a pleasure talking with the Gillis family, Hansel and Emma, and seeing Santa Claus at Altman's Billiards and Barstools. I got to play some skee ball. It was really fun. I lost epically to Santa Claus. Santa beat me. I think his score was 210. I only got 100 points on skee ball. To be fair, I've only played skee ball once, and Santa is a pro at skee ball. So it was a lot of fun hanging out, getting pictures with Santa Claus. This weekend. That's what I did this weekend. And then I went to church. We had a great youth group last night. We talked about the Apostle Paul. So it was a great lesson with our youths at the Tabernacle. That's where I go to church. It's a lot of fun, our youth group. If you're interested, you can text me. I've got plenty of space in the youth group. So bring your kids on over. It's a great time. I share lessons with them. Yesterday, we talked about Saul's amazing conversion going from Saul to Paul. So it was a good time. What was your weekend like? Give me a text, 309-451-9299. Drinking some of my coffee here this morning. And we are going to get into this news because there's a lot of it. There's a lot that happened over the weekend. How about it? The Trump dance is going viral. Every single NFL, there was at least 3 or 4 NFL players that did the Trump dance after their touchdowns. I don't watch football. As you guys know, I watch Formula One. I'm a big into racing. They were off this weekend. Next weekend, they're back. Thank God. But because I miss my racing. But I did watch a little bit of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I knew Jake Paul was going to win. Mike Tyson is ancient, you know what I mean, for being a boxer. And I had heard that he had stomach ulcers and he was recovering from that. And I was like, there's no way that this guy. So I was definitely all in on Jake Paul. And it turns out Jake Paul won. But there was also, John Jones, I think is his name. He was a boxer and he did the Trump dance. So the Trump dance is going viral. Did you see the Trump dance when you guys were watching football yesterday, football Sunday? Let me know, 309-451-9299. I love the Trump dance. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, love the Trump dance. All right. This article, I got to talk about this. This is bizarre. And, this is happened to a mother who lived in a rural county. So you're probably going to face something like this. And this is kind of a warning, I guess, to mothers out there. This mom is facing a year in prison for letting her son go walk to the Dollar General, which is just wild to me. We're going to go talk about that. Plus, I do want to talk about Representative AOC. She suddenly decided to remove her pronouns from her bio, from her Twitter bio, and then she subsequently deleted her Twitter. I think. I can't find her Twitter anywhere now. But she had removed her pronouns from her Twitter bio. I think that the left is going to start walking back this trans thing because they realize that it's not a winning strategy to, force people to subscribe to an ideology that is just bonkers. Men can be women, women can be men. That's just bizarre, and that's not a winning strategy. So I think they're going to slowly try to walk it back. This could be them attempting to do that. I don't know. AOC removed her pronouns from her bios, her Twitter bio again. So she's done this before. After an election cycle, she did it in 2022. So I think that they're going to start walking this back a little bit, the trans ideology stuff. So we cannot let them get away with it. We have to remember and always remember that the left, they have forced this ideology down our throats. They've tried to get us to bend the knee and say, yes, men can be women and women can be men. We cannot forget that. I do also want to talk about Bluesky. Have you guys heard of this? Why should you care about Bluesky? Bluesky is like the leftist echo chamber of Twitter. So it's like Jack Dorsey created it. I think it went live like in 2023. He created it in 2019. But essentially, it's like leftist Twitter. So I'm going to be chatting a little bit about that because people are leaving Twitter, not by, 115,000, I think, left Twitter after Donald Trump was elected because they're big mad because they think Elon won the election for Donald Trump, which he definitely played a big part, much like Tulsi Gabbard. You've got RFK Jr., all of them Democrats. Even Donald Trump was a Democrat. I recently watched The Little Rascals, and he made like a cameo appearance. Donald Trump did in The Little Rascals. I watched that again. It's a great film. It's classic. And Whoopi Goldberg is in it, and she does a cameo. Donald Trump was a leftist. He was a leftist in Hollywood. He was a Democrat. So was Tulsi Gabbard. So was RFK Jr. So was Elon Musk, right? They were all Democrats, and they've moved over. And unlike Adam Kinzinger, of course, he still continues to claim that he's a Republican, but does not subscribe to any kind of platform that the Republicans subscribe to. But he lies to you and says that he's a Republican. Unlike, you've got RFK Jr., who came out as an independent. He's not sitting there saying he's a Democrat, and he's just being honest with you. He says, no, I'm not a part of this group anymore. This radical leftist ideology is just too much for me to bear. I'm an independent. And then you've got Tulsi Gabbard, who just switched parties, and Elon Musk, he no longer calls himself a Democrat anymore. So they've got the cojones to get out there and be true to who they are. And not do this fake, like, oh, I'm still a Republican, but the Republican Party left me, Adam Kinzinger crap. So let's get to this story. I'm jumping all over the place. I've got a ton of coffee in me this morning. So you can trans your kid, but you cannot let your kid go walk down the street in a small town and go to the store by himself. Otherwise, you're going to be faced with 1 year in prison like this mother is. She's facing 1 year in prison because she let her kid go walk to the store, like not even a mile, not even a half a mile. And it was in a small town in Georgia. So it's an 11-year-old boy, by the way, an 11-year-old boy. He went to the dollar store alone, and his mother is now being charged with reckless conduct. Take a listen to this local news report. Here we go.
Shocked to be arrested in front of her children.
It was anger and frustration, of course, because my children were having to witness that.
All because her then 10-year-old son was spotted walking alone in Mineral Bluff, Georgia, a town with a population of about 370.
It's really not even a town, hardly. It's not a super dangerous or even dangerous at all stretch of road.
Brittany Patterson lives less than a mile from town with her father and children. On October 30th of this year, she had to take her eldest son to a medical appointment. Her youngest son, Soren, didn't want to come, she said, so she left him at home. Then she received a call from a police officer.
So when you got that phone call from the police officer saying, hey, do you know your kid is in town? What did you think?
I said no. I didn't know he was in town. I was not expecting them to say that, but I wasn't terrified for him or scared for his safety.
The police officer drove Soren home, she says, and made it clear it was problematic. Brittany didn't know where Soren was. At that point, Brittany thought the ordeal was over until officers showed up that evening to arrest her.
They asked me to put my hands behind my back and all that stuff, and I realized what was going on.
Brittany was taken to county jail, booked, and then released on $500 bail. She's now facing a misdemeanor charge of reckless conduct. The arrest warrant saying she, quote, knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son. If found guilty, she could face up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine.
Incredible. Just absolutely incredible. Wow. The mother was charged after deputies said her child walked less than a mile to the store from their North Georgia home. This is a population of 370. This is not even, a town. It's like you blink and you miss it kind of deal. So the deputies were called out to this road where this child was. Witness told deputies that he saw the young boy walking down the road into the Dollar General. According to authorities, the witness asked the boy if he was okay, and he said yes. She asked if he needed help. He said no. And then she continued to press the boy, right? This is what scared the boy. He's 11 years old, okay, and she's continuing to press him. She asked him where his parents were, and then she continued to press the boy and say, "What's your mom's name?" And then she asked if he needed help again. And then he said, "Never mind." And then he ran out of the store and behind the fire station that's by the Dollar General there. So, as a punishment, the state is trying to impose a safety plan. Yes, a so-called safety plan that is probably unconstitutional. And it's a serious I mean, this is government overreach. This plan, quote, includes terms so that the child is never left unsupervised and that there's a tracking device on him or his phone, and then the case manager of this case here is going to be watching the mother to make sure she downloads the tracking app on his phone. Wow. So she is raising money for her defense, this mother. Good. I hope she does not go down without a fight. The problem with this is the state has no right to monitor her son, and it's disgusting that they think that they could be better parents than she can. And this boy wasn't 5 years old. He's 11 years old. Now, was it a mistake? He didn't tell his mom that he was going to the store. She didn't know that he was going to the store. Yes. And if these cops were worth their, worth their badge, right? They'd get the kid, they'd call the mom and say, "Hey, let's just try to call mom next time if you're going to the store. Okay, make sure you tell your mom where you're at." This whole like nanny state esque behavior it's worrisome. The mother should not bend the knee to these tyrannical and these crazy demands that she track her kid, that the child never be left unsupervised. He's 11 years old and he wasn't walking down Skid Row. He wasn't walking in Chicago. This was a town of 370 people. She left him home because she had another kid she had to take to the doctor. The only harm here caused is the government overreach, really. And this woman in the Dollar General who pressed the kid as if he was a criminal, right, for simply being in the store. What? I just don't understand. I used to do this stuff all of the time. I used to walk to the Dairy Queen, to the, from the high school, and I'd walk to the gas station, and yeah, it was never a problem. I mean, I lived in small town America, but I just don't get this. It's unclear if the authorities have nothing better to do. They must be painfully bored. And this is obviously proof that they're bored. This is proof that these people are useless. A lot of people in government are just useless. There's no reason why any government worker should still have a job in this case. If anybody who had anything to do with cuffing this woman and charging her with reckless what was the charges? It was a misdemeanor, reckless conduct. I mean, come on. This is a joke. All right, I do have to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'll be right back. Bum, 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 bum on the sky. There ain't a cloud in sight. I've got that song stuck in my head. We've got Bluesky. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. This is a social media site. It's kind of like a leftist Twitter. A lot of people are going over to Bluesky now that Donald Trump has been elected. I think 115,000 people went over to Bluesky after the election, after Donald Trump was elected to be our next president. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But Jack Dorsey, he created this thing in 2019 as a way to decentralize Twitter, and it became public in 2023. So you've got Don Lemon, you've got Joy Reid, you've got Jamie Lee Curtis. They're all deleting their X accounts and moving over to Bluesky, which is fine by me. Good. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, right? Keith Olbermann, he's over on Bluesky as well. He's still on Twitter. But we're going to be talking about Bluesky because really what this is, it's a leftist meltdown echo chamber. Okay. And everything on that platform is going to be terrible all of the time. We're all going to die because of Donald Trump. I can just imagine what the posts are like. I don't have a Bluesky account. I'm kind of tempted to go get one just because I want to see the leftist meltdowns. But they're going to bitch and complain about the appointments, right, with Donald Trump, and every appointment is the end of the world. Pete Hegseth, right? He's going to kill us all, or Elon Musk is going to kill us all. There's probably a good bit of furry crap on there as well. Like, oh, look at me, I'm a furry, because that's what leftist echo chambers are. It's a bunch of fetishes and a bunch of elitism and I'm better than you and every Trump appointment and Trump man bad, Trump orange man bad, orange man bad. That is what leftist echo chambers are. So, good. Stay over there. I'm cool with you not being on Twitter. But they'll be back. I'm willing to bet like in a year, 2 years, definitely 4 years, they're going to be back to Twitter. So the thing that nobody's going to tell you are the numbers when it comes to Bluesky and X. The numbers don't lie, okay? So Bluesky, they gained a total of 1 million users since the election. Wow. Okay. 1 million viewers since the election. Wow. Good. Now that brings the grand total to, let's calculate it, 14.5 million. Okay. Now for X, it has over 500 million. Yes. So 14.5 million to 500 million. Yep. So like I said, over 115,000 users deactivated their X accounts, went over to Bluesky after the election. But that means, whatever 1 million minus 115,000 is, whatever that number is, that means that many people went over to Bluesky but kept their Twitter accounts, which I'm shocked that you're even allowed to do that. But yeah, I'm not too concerned with Bluesky because there's definitely not going to be freedom of speech over there, and people are going to realize, I kind of like being able to say whatever I want to say because, and here's the problem: they're going to have these terms and services, much like Facebook does or whatever, YouTube, your mainstream platforms, right? Unlike Rumble and Twitter, they're going to have terms of services that say, oh, you can't talk about hateful things or you can't say extremist things. Although, you could probably call for the assassination of Donald Trump and nobody would touch you with a 10-foot pole over in those platforms, but because it's not equally applied. The terms of service are not equally applied. It's only for people on the right. They're deemed hateful or whatever they could say. It's all, subjective, whatever, you say as somebody on the right. We can deem that hateful and we'll take you off the platform and we'll censor you. All right, we're going to be back in just a second. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Smash that like button. Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. The news and talk of Bloomington Normal, 309-451-9299. The tiers are going to be falling from Bluesky. Yes, what is Bluesky? Well, it's a social media platform created by Jack Dorsey in 2019. It, I think, went public in 2023. And really what it is, it's a leftist echo chamber. You've got 115,000 people after Donald Trump was elected delete their Twitter account and move over to Bluesky. But they've gained like a million users since the election. So they gained some users since the election, but obviously that math doesn't really check out. You've got 115,000 people who deleted their account on Twitter and then they went over to Bluesky. Total, though, there's a million new users on Bluesky. So that means that there's people who didn't delete their Twitter and then just have two accounts, the Bluesky account and the Twitter account, which I'm shocked that you're allowed to do that because, I'm shocked that it's not a requirement that you delete your Twitter before moving to Bluesky. But you've got Don Lemon, Jamie Lee Curtis, you've got Keith Olbermann. They're all on Bluesky now. Don Lemon and I believe Jamie Lee Curtis, they deleted their X accounts, their Twitter accounts. We're going to be talking about Bluesky, why you should care or why you should not care. I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, it's a platform that is anti-free speech. If you are somebody on the right, they're going to slap you with violation of terms of service, and they're going to say you're hateful or an extremist, and they're not going to apply that to those on the left. You could call for the assassination of Donald Trump on that platform probably, and they wouldn't do anything to you. Okay, they're going to allow you to stay on the platform because that's how leftist echo chambers work, much like Facebook, much like YouTube, right? So those are leftist echo chambers. It shouldn't really concern you all that much, but don't be worried about it because, I mean, X has 500 million users and Bluesky has 14.5 million users. So it's not a thing. Okay, X is still a dominant platform. I do want to chat about AOC. I think she deleted her X, actually, her Twitter account. I'm not too sure because I can't find her bio anymore, but I do know that she removed her pronouns from her Twitter bio. So she had like she, her pronouns in her Twitter bio. Leftists do this. I'm sure at work you've got that one woman who has a signature in her or an email signature and she's got her pronouns in her email signature, which is just so annoying. Do everything in your power to avoid that woman at work if you have to deal with somebody like that. I'm sorry. But I don't know if this is an internal mandate from the Democratic Party where politicians are no longer pushing this trans ideology because AOC removed her pronouns from her Twitter bio and now the internet's confused. Maybe it's an internal mandate from the Democrat Party and they're saying, hey, let's walk back this trans ideology because it's not a winning issue. We lost the 2024 election because of this issue. I remember the infamous Donald Trump commercial where he says, Kamala Harris is for they, them, not for you. And they took a clip of her talking about how she was pro-transing the prisoners or giving free transgender procedures and treatment to prisoners in our nation's prisons. At least in California, I think as her time as Attorney General, she was like calling for prisoners to have free gender identity procedures and gender transitioning hormones and things like that on taxpayer dime, right? So AOC, she accidentally deleted her pronouns in 2022 as well. Again, unclear if that was a mistake, but it could have also been because it was an election year. We know that this trans ideology stuff is not a winning issue. They know it too. AOC apologized to her followers in 2022 on Instagram for not listing her pronouns in her biography on the platform on Instagram. So she deleted them from Instagram. There's also been a lot of speculation. Is AOC gay? Is she transgender? Is she lesbian? Like nobody really knows her sexuality because she keeps like putting her pronouns in there and then like deleting them. And everybody's like questioning her sexual orientation and her gender identity because that's what they care about in that space. I could care less, but I think really they're trying to walk back the trans ideology because they know it's not a winning issue. And it's important that you remember who these people are and remember their true colors. Okay, so don't forget in 2026, when election time comes around, that these people, that the AOCs tried to force this stuff down your throat and get you to say that men can be women and women can be men. So AOC, she made an apology in 2022 in response to a comment on her Instagram profile. She posted a brief video saying she had once had her pronouns available, but somehow they fell off, accidentally fell off. So the comment on her Instagram back in 2022 was, please add your pronouns to your Instagram profile. Thank you for all you do. So AOC responded and she said, oh, I'm sorry about that. They used to be on there. Let me go back and check and see if I can add them. Sorry about that. They used to be there. I guess they fell off, but I'll put them on right away. Unclear how her pronouns just kind of fell off in 2022, but the internet citizens, they needed answers as to why. And now it's a recurring issue. You see her pronouns keep falling off. There's rumors on the interwebs and on the internet that this woman, or that the congresswoman is pregnant, actually. Now, I don't know why that would lead her to take her pronouns off, but I don't know if she's like getting ahead of the mandates of Project 2025, because they said that Project 2025, you can't use pronouns anymore under Project 2025, and it's Donald Trump's 2025, and he's gonna implement Project 2025. She might be getting ahead of the mandates of Project 2025, and she's blue anon, so she thinks that Project 2025 is a thing and it's gonna happen. One, Project 2025 Heritage Foundation was not Donald Trump's. He's not implementing Project 2025. Two, I've read through Project 2025. Nothing in there about mandating people not use pronouns in their bio, although I would love something like that, because it is super annoying to get emails from people and they have their pronouns in their email signature. And I'm sure you have to deal with it too at work. Maybe you work at State Farm and you've got people emailing you constantly about your you've got people emailing you, and then you see their signature constantly pop up and it's got their pronouns in their bio, and you're just like, oh, I could scream at the sky. Let's take a listen to AOC here. This is one of her last X posts that she published in 2024, right after the election, before deleting her X account. She does kind of look pregnant here, I'm going to be honest. So I don't know what the pregnancy would like why that would cause her to remove her pronouns in her bio, but this is an interesting question too, because she wants to figure out what platforms you're on, because she wants to be on those platforms. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Which podcasts are you listening to? Which accounts are you subscribing to? I'm interested, like genuinely. Let me know which ones specifically, which accounts, which podcasts, etc.
Which probably wants to know which ones you're listening to, because she wants to censor those podcasts, right? She wants to know what podcast you're listening to, because really Donald Trump's podcast appearances, that's what put him over in 2024. And nobody listens to mainstream media anymore. Nobody listens to MSNBC, CNN, ABC, all of the three-letter media outlets. Nobody listens to that crap anymore. People are listening to independent media. And clearly, Donald Trump won because he chose the independent media route. He never, made appearances. J.D. Vance made appearances on those outlets, but Donald Trump never made appearances on those outlets. Rarely. I think he went on Fox News a couple of times. But I don't want you to get your hopes up. This doesn't mean we're winning the culture war and they're losing the culture war here, where they're like backing away from this trans ideology. I don't think that's a win. I think that they're being very deceptive, and they're trying to convince you that they are not subscribed to that ideology to get you to vote for them. And then they'll come in through the back door and implement that kind of stuff, like free transgender surgeries for prisoners. So the fact that she had her pronouns to begin with in her bio shows there's no coming back, right? If you are willing to put your pronouns in your bio, there's no coming back for you. I don't try to argue with those people. There's no way that you can even convince them that that ideology is insane. So she has yet to release a statement as to why her pronouns fell off in 2024 here, but I'll let you come to your own conclusions. I have no idea if it has anything to do with pregnancy. There's rumors on the interweb that she could be pregnant, and I don't know what that has to do with her pronouns and why she would take them off. But she has yet to release a statement as to why she took off her pronouns. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know what a woman is. Maybe she radically changed her beliefs because she got pregnant, if she is pregnant, and now she understands what a woman is, because I am convinced if you have children, there's no way that you don't know what a woman is. There's no way that you'd be able to sit there and say, yes, a man can also have children after you've had children. So maybe she radically changed her beliefs out of this pregnancy and she removed her pronouns. Who knows? I do want to take a quick break, but when we come back, I got to tell you about Bluesky. I don't know what the pronunciation is. I really don't care. I'm not creating an account. I'm tempted to because I'd love to see the leftist meltdown going on there. But I think I'm going to take a break from the leftist meltdown, that side of social media, and I'm just going to go back to, making fat jokes about JB on Twitter and, maybe watching some cat videos on the internet now that the election's over. But we're going to be talking about Bluesky because it's supposed to be an X alternative, and a lot of celebrities are going over to this new-ish platform. I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Mr. Bluesky. Okay, I have not created an account on Bluesky. That song is in my head this morning because I've got this story about Bluesky. But I love that song, ELO. I actually saw ELO recently in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, complete just nasty place. It just was like completely abandoned, and all of the businesses were boarded up with barbed wire, which I found interesting. A lot of them, anyway. And we were in the nice part, so that kind of shocked me. I was like, "Wait a second, we're in the nice part of Detroit, right here by the arena, the concert venue." And I was like so confused as to why it looked that way, even in the nice part of Detroit, not in the outer parts of Detroit. But anyway, I want to talk about Bluesky. I don't know if you know what Bluesky is, but I'm going to help you out here on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. Be sure to text me, 309-451-9299. Coming up a little bit later, I do want to talk about this story out of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania Democrats are ignoring a Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling, and they voted to count illegal ballots. Oh, but our elections are free and fair and secure. Yeah, it's so great. Look, folks, too big to rig. I definitely think Donald Trump won. There's definitely something that was shady in 2020, because how did Joe Biden get 20 million? Like, where did those 20 million extra voters go? Because they didn't show up for Kamala Harris and they voted for Joe Biden. 20 million people just didn't vote this election cycle. But everybody was like, oh, people came out and voted for Joe Biden because they couldn't have Donald Trump as president, and they just weren't willing to have Donald Trump as president. I don't know. There's something fishy going on there. And I will continue to say this. We should always look into our election laws, look into the election, look into nefarious things that happen or abnormalities. I think it was too big to rig. That's why Donald Trump won. But that doesn't mean that illegal votes aren't being counted. Case in point, we have these Pennsylvania Democrats who ignored the Supreme Court ruling, and they're continuing to count illegal ballots in this Senate race. So I'm going to be chatting a little bit about that. Also want to talk about, CNN. They have this meltdown over RFK Jr. This is going to be really interesting with RFK Jr. I don't know how he's going to go about this without infringing on companies' rights to, sell products and their right to pursue happiness or whatever. To me, I don't care if he comes off as authoritarian. I'm not really a libertarian. I've never described myself as a libertarian. I'm totally cool with RFK Jr. mandating food companies not put poison in our food. I'm all right with those mandates. I don't know about you. Keep the poison out of my food, and because your rights end where mine begin. If you are putting poison in my food as a company, then we've got to do something about that. So anyway, CNN is kind of having a nutty meltdown over RFK Jr., but Scott Jennings, the only voice of sanity on that program, puts them in their place. So there's a good clip here I want to get to. But first, Bluesky. Bluesky is like the leftist alternative to X, to Twitter. It was developed by Jack Dorsey, and it's actually kind of funny because Elon Musk is getting this Voldemort treatment. The leftists aren't even saying his name. He who must not be named, right? Elon Musk. They have very strong feelings about Elon after this election. And I don't have strong feelings about Elon. I wish he was a Christian. It would be great. He describes himself as a cultural Christian, which is weird. But I like his approach to free speech. I'm cool with his approach to free speech. He made Twitter fun again. And I love his attitude when it comes to eliminating wasteful spending in the government. Love all of that. So over at Bluesky, they're spending a large part of their day, the leftists there, coping and dealing with Elon Musk and X and the powerhouse, really, that this platform has become. And I'll share some numbers with you here about X and compare them with Bluesky numbers. This is a powerhouse platform. It's a huge platform. Anyway, so Bluesky was developed by Jack Dorsey in 2019. It went public, I guess, in 2023. And he created it to decentralize Twitter. It doesn't... the the difference here, the thing that makes it different from X and Twitter is that users can create their own servers where they can make up their own rules, I guess. But let me guess, it's not like your own servers. You can make up your own rules, but you still have to follow the terms of service. And free speech is probably not included in those terms of service. So I'm willing to bet, even in these, spaces or in these servers where you can make up your own rules, you still have to abide by a terms of service, and those terms of service are, going to ban accounts for the, as usual, undefined concepts of hate and extremism, right? And there's going to be people on Bluesky who call for the assassination of Donald Trump. They won't be booted off for hateful behavior or extremism. But, if you say something like Hillary Clinton's pantsuit is, ugly, or she shouldn't be wearing, or why does Kamala Harris wear, men's clothes? Why doesn't she wear pantsuits that fit her? That's what really bothers me. If you say something like that, you're going to be booted off Bluesky because you are saying something that is on the right. You're somebody on the right and you're saying something hateful. You can't say that over on that platform because it's not a free speech platform, but you could probably call for the assassination of Donald Trump and, not even get a slap on the wrist on that platform. So people like Joy Reid, Don Lemon, they have promised to delete their X accounts. You've got Jamie Lee Curtis. She's already done it. Don Lemon is on Bluesky. And so far, he's only made a few posts of him mostly in his car, which is really funny because he's in the back seat for, we all know Don Lemon is a very out of touch. He's probably the most out of touch media personality out there. He's making a video in the back of his car. And he's got a bunch of those on Bluesky for right now, I guess. So Keith Olbermann is over there as well. And he hasn't deleted his X account. Joy Reid is over on Bluesky. Most of her posts are just screenshots of people posting on X, which it's like, that's kind of, I mean, if Bluesky succeeds in destroying X and that's the alternative and everybody decides to go over to Bluesky, what is Joy Reid going to do? Because all of her posts are screenshots of what people are talking about on X. So all your content is going to be gone if X is eliminated by Bluesky, or if Bluesky succeeds in destroying X. I've got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. It's a leftist echo chamber there, and they're talking about furryism. Being a furry. They're screaming about how all of the cabinet appointments made by Donald Trump are going to end the world. That's what's happening on the platform called Bluesky. They're trying to, of course, destroy X. That's just not going to happen, folks, if you look at the numbers. But they're accusing X of being a right-wing echo chamber, and they went and they created their own leftist meltdown echo chamber, and they're screaming about Donald Trump, how we're going to die, and how every appointment that Donald Trump made is going to be the end of the world. And then, of course, they're talking about their fetishes, furryism. They're all a bunch of elitists over there. And here's the problem with Bluesky. There's a big problem over there. There's no way to really verify anyone. On X, you can get like a blue check mark. You can verify yourself with your driver's license. There, you can't verify anyone. So you've got these like parody accounts, the AP parody account, the CNN parody account. And you get these, outlets, these fake parody accounts of CNN and AP, because these media outlets have not exactly taken the plunge into Bluesky. So there's a lot of posts out there on Bluesky. I'm going to be chatting about the numbers on Bluesky, but later I do want to talk about these votes in Pennsylvania. They're counting illegal votes right now. Yeah, totally free, totally fair, totally secure election. I'll be right back with all of that here next on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We've got so much to get to this morning. I do want to talk about Pennsylvania. What's going on there? The Pennsylvania Democrats are ignoring a Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling, and they voted to count illegal ballots. No, quite literally, they're illegal ballots. They were dated, they were misdated, and they made a decision. Even though the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania ruled, hey, you can't count these ballots, they made a decision to count them anyway in this Senate race. Wild. Chicago still counting votes 2 weeks after the election. Yes, and now Donald Trump is losing his lead in the popular vote. I don't think it's going to where he's going to lose the popular vote, but they're chipping away at this popular vote lead he had over Kamala Harris. And I don't know about you, but 2 weeks after the election and you're still counting ballots, what the hell is wrong with you? Let's get to Bluesky. I want to wrap that story up. I said I'd provide some numbers. So, on X or on Bluesky, they're, saying that they're going to destroy X. You've got posts where, they've got this, Bluesky is burning down X, and they're, posting memes about how they're going to take down X, the platform. But I want to share with you these numbers, and you're going to realize pretty quickly that leftist ideology is not popular. So Bluesky has been around since 2023, by the way. It was created actually in 2019. It launched, I think, officially in 2023. They celebrated gaining 1 million viewers since the election. So it's been 2 weeks, essentially, since the election, a little over 2 weeks. And they got 1 million viewers since Donald Trump was elected to be the next president. So congratulations, 1 million viewers. That's awesome. That brings the grand total to 14.5 million total users on Bluesky. Are you ready? On X, there's over 500 million, 14.5 million total users on Bluesky, 500 million on X. So that's over, game over. Pack it all up, go home, okay? 115,000 people have deactivated their X accounts since the election. But wait, those numbers don't match up. So they had 1 million since the election users gained on Bluesky. That must mean that people are not deleting their X accounts, but they're getting a Bluesky account. I don't know how they're even allowed to do that. I thought a qualification that you need in order to be on Bluesky is that you deleted your X account, right? So I don't think that they're going to be off X very long. Don Lemon, Joy Reid, they're going to come back to X. I'm willing to bet on that. We should set up a poly market for it, right? But they're going to be back in probably a year or two, maybe four after Donald Trump or after Donald Trump and the next MAGA candidate, announces for re-election. They'll probably come back on X. I don't know, but I don't think they're going to stay there long on Bluesky. Threads is also trying to jump up into the mix here. Threads is like Meta's version of Twitter, but a lot of people haven't created Threads accounts. I haven't created a Thread account. I haven't created a Bluesky account. And I'm pretty sure that the numbers are close to what I just provided. It's nowhere near X levels. There are 500 million total viewers on X, which is insane. Now, I'm not suggesting you go over to Bluesky and troll them. I've considered it. That is nothing I would never suggest you get onto that platform and troll the leftist. No. Wink, wink. I've considered it, but I'm going to take the win, I think, and I'm just going to leave the left alone. And then they're just going to go after each other because that's how these things kind of go. The left is an echo chamber over there, and they're going to cope. They're going to seethe for a little while, and they're going to stew in their own juices over there. But ultimately, the model is unsustainable because the left will always eat their own. Bluesky, it'll survive for a while. It'll maybe even appear that it's flourishing, but one day they're going to eat their own. They're going to turn on each other and they're going to rip each other to shreds over on Bluesky, and then they'll come back to X. I say let them. Let them stay on over there. I'm going to continue writing a fat joke on X, fat joke or two on X about JB Pritzker. And I'm just going to enjoy the win. I'm going to be retweeting, all of the Trump dances from the NFL over the weekend. So you can follow me on X if you'd like. But Yeah. The election's over. I'm going to go back to tweeting about JB Pritzker and maybe make a fat joke or two. But I'm not going over to Bluesky, I don't think. Although I would love to go troll the leftists, I just don't think it's really worth it because they're going to wind up eating each other themselves. They're going to go after each other because that's just how it goes over in leftist spaces because they're unhinged. I do want to talk about PA Democrats, the Pennsylvania Democrats. Wow, this is incredible. Despite a Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling, they are ignoring that ruling, and then they voted to count illegal ballots anyway in the Senate race. I forget where it was, but there was a Chinese national too. I'll have to look up I want to say it was Oregon, but I'll look it up. It was a Chinese national, and he voted in this last election, and they decided, it went before, the election officials, and they said, yeah, we're going to count that vote anyway. Like, people are counting illegal ballots, and they're just like straight up telling you that they're cool with counting illegal ballots. So we're going to get to that story. Plus, I want to talk about CNN having a meltdown over RFK Jr. Very excited for RFK Jr. I hope he pulls a little bit of an authoritarian-esque move here, and he requires that food companies not poison people. Your rights end where mine begin, and I want him to mandate that these food companies do not put poison in the food anymore. So we're going to talk about CNN's meltdown over RFK Jr. because RFK Jr. wants to take poison out of the food. I didn't know that was controversial, but I guess it is. Scott Jennings, he, of course, is the voice of sanity on CNN, and he puts them all in their place, this CNN panel. So I think it's a great clip. We're going to get to that. But first, precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country. That's what they said. I'm quoting here. This was the justification used by Democrat commissioners when they tried to explain why they're counting these misdated ballots after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that that was illegal. You cannot count misdated ballots. Now, that could be happening. That could be what's happening in Chicago. As I told you, in Chicago, they're still counting ballots. It's 2 weeks or so after the election. That's insane. Why are you still counting ballots? Like, how? What? They're still counting ballots, and they're most likely, if I had to guess, counting ballots in Chicago that are misdated. A lot of times, if these are mail-in ballots, people will, date them wrong. You're not allowed to count them if they're misdated. So the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, now this has been going on in Pennsylvania, California, things like that. There's people still counting ballots. It's been weeks after the election. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said that was illegal. You cannot count misdated ballots. But guess what the commissioners said? They said, we're going to do it anyway. Why? Because court precedent really doesn't matter anymore in this country, and we're just going to violate the law because we can. Let's take a listen.
We reject all three categories of these ballots.
Your motion is to reject or dismiss the challenges in this category in front of you?
Correct. Yep.
Not going to second that, mostly because I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention to it.
We reject.
I want a court to pay attention to it. That's Diane Marseglia. I don't know how you say her name, but she's a commissioner. I know what you're thinking, but don't worry. This is the most secure and legitimate election in history, so much so it would make 2020 look like a steal. Okay. No, like I said, too big to rig. I do think Donald Trump won the 2024 election 100%. Too big to rig. Now, the difference between Donald Trump winning the 2024 election and 2020 Joe Biden, I say that Joe Biden did not win that 2020 election because you look at the numbers, where did those 20 million voters go? They just fell off the face of the earth. In 2024, they didn't show up to vote for Kamala Harris. It makes no sense. 20 million people came out to vote for Joe Biden, and they didn't come out to vote for Kamala Harris. And when you look at it, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, they got 60 million votes. Joe Biden got 80 million votes. You mean to tell me that Joe Biden is the most popular president of all time? No. So Diane, this commissioner here, she's Democrat, and she justified counting these misdated ballots because Well, she says it's totally legal. It's a totally legitimate move because people violate laws anytime they want. And for me, if I violate this law, this is because I want the court to pay attention to it. I don't know. What? You're just coming out and you're saying, yeah, I want to violate the law because the court precedent really doesn't matter in this country anymore. This is exactly what someone doing the moral and legal thing would say. I don't know if this is what somebody would say if they were doing the moral and legal thing. I'm just going to violate the law because I want the court to pay attention to me violating the law. Very weird. Yeah, I mean, this doesn't sound like it's coming from a person who's working to get their desired candidate selected. Nope. But don't even give that a second thought. This is a Senate race, okay? So Casey, that's who they're trying to get, Bob Casey. They're trying to get that senator into the U.S. Senate. Okay, he's the Democrat. Now, I've talked about Bob Casey before on this program. He refused to show up around Kamala Harris rallies or introduce Kamala Harris because he knew that she was like a falling knife and did not want to catch that falling knife, right? He knew that it would be totally bad for his campaign if he was seen with Kamala Harris. But this is Bob Casey in Pennsylvania, and Dave McCormick. He's currently suing the Buck County Board of Elections here because they decided to count 405 undated or misdated mail-in ballots. So Democrats here are justifying breaking the law by saying, by claiming people break the law all of the time, and it really doesn't matter, so I'm going to break the law. Since when is that a winning campaign strategy? You obviously want Bob Casey in, and I get that, but like, even if Bob Casey gets in and they get away with really breaking the law and going against the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling, if they get away with this, he's never going to win an election ever again. This is not a winning campaign strategy. They're never going to win ever again in that district because you stole it outright. Like, you're just outright saying that you're stealing the election. So where on God's green earth is the RNC, by the way? I don't know where they're at, if they've turned a blind eye to this blatant rigging. They're saying with their mouths that they're rigging this election. Where is the RNC? I don't know. David McCormick is the only one suing Bucks County Board of Elections. The RNC should be suing. A citizen group should be suing. Why is Dave McCormick the only guy that seems to be fighting this fight? I don't know. If I didn't know any better, I would say that they would never win the legal way. But I don't know any better, so I can't make that claim, right? I would imagine that they can't win the legal way with Bob Casey, and they knew that going in. That's why Bob Casey would not be seen with Kamala Harris, because he did not want to damage his campaign even further. That's why he couldn't be seen with Kamala Harris, because this was going to be a tight race, and he knew that he didn't have the votes. That's why he made that strategy to not be seen with Kamala Harris. One cannot ignore that the Democrats could have never won this seat, and they didn't go about this the legal way to get this seat, and it's because they couldn't win it. So this is not a secure election. This is not a legitimate election. They're actually counting illegal votes. And this woman, Diane, on the Buck County, I think this is the Buck County Board of Elections. She's a commissioner, I guess, or whatever. She came out and said with her mouth that she doesn't care that they're breaking the law because people break the law all the time. So why can't she? And why can't they break the law and ignore the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling? Weird. We're living in really strange times where it's just okay to steal elections and it's okay to admit that with your mouth. What? Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. I'll be right back. We're going to discuss a FEMA worker, fired FEMA worker. She's a supervisor who was following orders, and she just said out loud that she's comparing Trump supporters to, quote, vicious dogs. Yes, a FEMA worker. And she refused to provide aid to Trump supporters who were affected by the hurricanes in the Southeast. So I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in on to Conservative Cat. It is a live show from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Now, before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about FEMA worker. Now, this is a fired FEMA supervisor who was just, quote, following orders when she left Trump supporters in these hurricane ravaged areas. Essentially with no aid. And she's doubling down and she's saying that her staff was actually justified to leave these people for dead. I mean, that's essentially not providing aid to these people in these hurricane ravaged areas. She said that they were justified, her staff, because Trump supporters are vicious dogs. Yes. So we're going to play this clip here. Absolutely incredible. Now, I've talked about this story before. Now, I think that this woman is out there now trying to get her 5 minutes of fame. And I think that she's trying to highlight how crazy this is, where she refuses to provide aid to Trump supporters who were ravaged by this hurricane if they had Trump signs. I think it's so much deeper than just her team, just this supervisor. And she is the fall guy, right? She is the scapegoat, where, they're getting her out there on this media tour. And by they, I mean the bureaucracy of FEMA, the big guys, the top officials of FEMA are using her as the fall guy. And they're trying to distract you from the real story here. That's why she's using these words like this powerful rhetoric, and she's comparing Trump supporters to vicious dogs. It's not because, she's terrible, right? It's not so much because of that. And she's exaggerating on purpose. It's because she wants us distracted. She wants us to think that she was the only supervisor who did this, and that she only did this in areas where, Trump supporters, if they had signs in their yards and things like that. No, I think it was much deeper. I think that you had top officials in FEMA who gave direct orders to multiple FEMA teams. And it wasn't based on Trump signs, because that's kind of ridiculous in the first place, because you've got these Trump signs in a hurricane ravaged area. Most likely those signs were blown away. It's probably based off voting data. They looked at the way, certain counties voted, and then they withheld aid from areas based on their voting habits. In 2020, if they voted for Donald Trump in 2020, then they withheld aid from those counties. I think it's much deeper, and I think that's why she is, out here saying these really kind of radical things and exaggerated things, because she wants you distracted, this FEMA supervisor. So let's take a listen here. This was on Fox News. Here we go.
And someone feels uncomfortable, we can't go to that home. If you have loose dogs and someone on the team is comfortable with dogs and another person is not, we can't go to that home because of safety precautions.
So you feared the Trump houses. The people on FEMA were fearing the Trump houses like they were fearing people with vicious dogs in their backyard.
Exactly. And that's based on the trends. You can ask FEMA and someone feels uncomfortable.
What? No. So she compares Trump supporters to vicious dogs. Okay, they left people dead, and they justified this because the Trump supporters are akin to vicious dogs. There are probably lots of words I could use to describe this woman. Female dog is up there. But her name is Marnie Washington, this woman. And like I said, I think that she's just out here on a media tour, and she wants her 5 minutes of fame. But I think it's coordinated. I think that the people at the top in FEMA are pushing her out there and getting her to say really radical, exaggerated things because they want to distract you from the real story. The real story is that you've got top FEMA officials, multiple FEMA teams. They gave the direct order, not based off if you had a Trump sign in your yard, but based off voting data and whether these counties were red or not. So let me get this straight. She's enjoying her 5 minutes of fame here, and she has no remorse. I mean, this is subhuman. She has no remorse clearly here, and she left people for dead. She withheld aid from people who were ravaged. These areas were ravaged by the hurricane, and they were suffering. In a normal society, someone would be held accountable for that. She'd actually probably be behind bars for something like that. But we're not living in normal society, are we? Instead, she gets all of this attention. In fact, it's probably deliberate. They're probably deliberately putting her out there to get this attention, to distract you from the real story, which is that this is so much bigger than she's letting on. She clearly is totally for being pushed out there for this attention. She's probably craved attention her entire life. Maybe didn't have a daddy at home. I don't know. But she has no sympathy, no remorse. And she's out there and she's a lackey, really, for FEMA. So I don't know. She's on live TV. I don't think it's because she's got low IQ. I really think it's deliberate. I don't think it's because she has a low IQ. I don't think it's because she actually hates Trump supporters as much as she does vicious dogs. I think that this is the bureaucracy pushing her out there and telling her to be emotionless. And that's disturbing. That's really disturbing. And they're distracting us with this story. And it's 100 times worse than what you're thinking. It's not just one rogue FEMA supervisor and one rogue team that didn't like the Trump supporter signs. No, this is the whole kit and caboodle. This is the whole FEMA agency. So this is a lack of remorse for human life. There's no excuse for these actions. Absolutely no excuse for these actions. You were not just following orders. You were not protecting your FEMA team from Trump supporters you're comparing to vicious dogs who are akin to vicious dogs. There's no excuse, absolutely no excuse to leave people for dead when you are in charge of providing aid and helping these people. If someone's so disturbed by a Trump sign, or by any sign that is deemed politically incorrect. So let's not forget that it's just a sign that you don't like as a FEMA worker. And if you are that upset by that and so disturbed by that sign that's politically incorrect, you probably shouldn't work there. You're too emotionally weak to work with FEMA. Okay. And these are the types of people that control the department. It's the entire department. We need to get rid of it. I hope that DOGE gets rid of this, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, get rid of it, gut it, maybe replace it, maybe not. Maybe I think that the private sector did pretty well. I think that regular citizens, despite the interference from FEMA, because they were actually diverting aid. We talked with actually Chad Burke, a local here. He went down to the area of North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't know exactly what Carolina he went to, but he went down and he tried to provide aid. And you had FEMA officials telling him to go to the middle of nowhere, gave him a fake, fictitious address to drop off aid or to drop off supplies for these victims, these hurricane victims. So they were interfering with the private sector trying to provide aid. I think if you just got rid of it, the private sector would step in, your neighbors, your friends would step in, and they'd probably help each other out way more than FEMA could possibly. In fact, they're a hindrance. They're interfering with your ability. They interfered with people's ability to provide aid to their neighbors. So this wasn't a one-off. I want to be clear. This is not just one FEMA supervisor, and they want you to make her the bad guy, make her the boogeyman. And they're exaggerating, and comparing Trump supporters to vicious dog to get you upset about this and to make her the fall guy, the scapegoat. But don't forget that this is FEMA policy. They at the top ordered this, directed people to avoid red areas. And Americans deserve accountability. They deserve the names of the people who are behind this, every single one of them in their bureaucracy. And I don't expect to get that anytime soon. I would imagine there has to be a change. The regime has got to go. Donald Trump has got to get in. And one thing is for certain, they are hell-bent on creating chaos all the way up until Trump takes his oath in January. Case number one, example number one, they are hell-bent on creating chaos and making this woman a scapegoat and exaggerating this story to try to distract you from what's really going on. This is a total mess, I do have to take a quick break, but I want to talk about the health secretary, RFK Jr. He's the pick. And, you've got Dick Durbin out there saying that he's a quack or that he's, subscribes to quack science and he's unqualified, which is just ridiculous. He's a Kennedy. He's always been respectable. And he is going to be our Human Health Services Secretary. And I'm super excited for that. Our current Assistant Secretary for Health is a man who thinks he's a woman and believes your skin color can affect the direction of the wind. Okay, this is how crazy our current Assistant Secretary for Health is. So let's not forget about who's unqualified here. The person who's unqualified is our current Assistant Secretary of Health, okay? So this individual did not run on making America healthy again. RFK Jr. is running and ran with Donald Trump in tandem to make America healthy, and he made it about health. So I want to talk about the CNN meltdown that they're having about RFK Jr. Being the HHS pick. I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat. Woo! Good morning. Hey, it's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So glad that you are here joining me on Conservative Cat from 6 to 8 a.m. It's a daily show, Monday through Friday. Now we're going to be talking about the Assistant Secretary of Health, who is currently a man, and he thinks that he's a woman. And he believes, the color of your skin changes the direction of the wind, yada, yada, yada. And the head of the department is actually a politician and a lawyer. Neither of these individuals are qualified to make America healthy again. Okay, you've got the Assistant Secretary of Health, who's, not the epitome of health, and you've got this politician lawyer guy who knows nothing about healthy behavior. Look at RFK Jr. and then look at the Assistant Secretary for Health currently. Look at them side by side. Clearly, somebody knows a thing or two about being healthy. Okay. It's much like if I had a personal trainer, I would not take the advice of a personal trainer who is ginormous. I'm sorry. But if you're fat, I'm not going to take your advice about health. Governor J.B. Pritzker, he sits there and he says, oh, they're all unqualified. RFK Jr. is unqualified. Dick Durbin is up there saying, oh, he's unqualified. He's a quack doctor. Look at you. Look at you, JB. He's unqualified. Come on. You are not somebody who knows anything about health. Scott Jennings called out CNN panelists for having a meltdown over RFK Jr. And rather than back up their criticism, they resorted to insults and ad hominem attacks, because that's what they do when they're losing an argument. The left, they always resort to, personal insults when they're losing an argument, and they couldn't back up their criticism of RFK Jr. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
There's really no good reason why Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., should be HHS secretary. An advisor, a confidant, somebody who talks to the president and advises, but there's no managerial experience in his resume. There's nothing that says he is qualified to do this job that is in charge of the health of all of us, all these different lanes. If he has views and has insights around food sources, around vaccines, then those should be given in advisory roles.
Why?
Because
what were the qualifications of the previous ones?
Well, I think it's important to always
Management
remember that you put yourself. Say that again.
What were the management qualifications? I mean, Xavier Becerra.
I'm not talking about the previous. I'm looking forward.
But you're calling into question whether he could actually do this job, and I think it's
absolutely. I think America is now, and I think
it's important to discuss it, because Xavier Becerra was just a lawyer and a politician with no management experience.
So does two negatives, two wrongs make a right?
Sylvia Burwell was a Walmart lobbyist. Donna Shalala was a university person. Look,
RFK Jr. is a nut.
Okay, so that's different than what you just said. You just said he doesn't possess the requisite managerial experience, but then we get to the real issue here, which is you want to insult the man, which is your right to do because you oppose them in the election. But you, doctor, are raising the issues that he has been raising, and I think they're appropriate questions to raise. I don't know whether he can be confirmed or not. The vaccine stuff at the table is obviously going to be the flashpoint of this hearing. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you one thing. This whole issue of the CDC and these public health agencies, look, public trust in the health regime in this country is as low as it's ever been. But why? It's because of COVID, right? Because of school closures, because of mask mandates, because this country was let me just finish. Because this country was drugged through a bunch of condescending and heavy-handed mandates that all turned out to be garbage, and that's why it's low, and the questions are valid.
And RFK is the answer to all of that.
Yeah, but RFK helped promote the assault on the CDC that lowered the disinformation that led to
CDC
more than a million deaths, Scott. More than 1 million deaths in the United States, higher than any other industrialized nation per capita. That's the result of failed policies, the demonization of the conspiracy theories.
Whose policies?
All right, under the Trump administration.
John, let me let.
So let's be real here. I want to level with you. The people are mad about RFK Jr. because he is threatening the medical bureaucracy that controls Washington. That's what's going on. The pharmacy industry is the second largest industry in terms of ad spending here in the United States, which means media hacks, like these people on the CNN panel, are forbidden to talk negatively about some of the most corrupt companies in this on the planet, in the world. Okay, so Big Pharma is the biggest lobbyist in Washington, spending more than any other industry to influence lawmakers. And that's probably why Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas is having a complete cow on the internet. She tweeted this out. She said, RFK Jr. poses a real threat. He poses a danger to public health, scientific research, medicine, and healthcare coverage for millions. He wants to stop parents from protecting their babies from measles, and his ideas would welcome the return of polio. These people are wacky. Then she goes on, she says, I have a lot of questions for his Senate hearing. I want to be clear, RFK Jr., he's not going after your ability to protect your babies from measles. He's not going to welcome polio back. He doesn't have a plan to welcome polio back, okay? Never once has he said anything about, eliminating the measles vaccine or the polio vaccine. He's never said anything about that. He poses a danger to the pharmaceutical industry. Additionally, Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, she says, quote, poses a danger to public health, scientific research, medicine, healthcare coverage for millions. Really what she means there is that he poses a danger to the medical bureaucracy that controls Washington. And like I said, if you don't think RFK Jr. is qualified, look at a side-by-side. Seriously do it. Look at a side-by-side of the assistant health secretary and then look at RFK Jr. RFK Jr. is out there doing pull-ups. He's ripped, folks, and he knows a thing or two about health. And the fact that the left prefers the former, they prefer Joe Biden's picks, it tells you all you really need to know what they think about Americans' health. They don't care about it. They don't care about your health. RFK Jr., I believe, does. I've read a few of his books. He's a smart guy. And they're going to say that he's a quack because he questions the vaccine. Look at what the vaccines are doing to the COVID vaccines. Look at what they're doing to people. Myocarditis, adverse effects. There's all kinds of things that those vaccines have bred out of the pandemic. And I think it's okay to question that kind of stuff. So I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. The news and talk of Bloomington Normal. It's raining. It's pouring. The old man is snoring. And by old man, I mean Joe Biden. He's probably snoring right now. Who wants to bet he's probably taking a nap right about now? And look, folks, the fact that the left prefers people like this current assistant health secretary over somebody like RFK Jr., who clearly knows a thing or two about health. I mean, look at the guy. They're the side that didn't run on making America healthy again. Okay. They have no interest in making America healthy again because that doesn't benefit the pharmaceutical industry. And the Democrats are trying to stop RFK Jr. at all costs because they do not want big pharma to be dismantled. They don't want big pharma, big food to be dismantled. And they have vowed to represent the most corrupt companies in modern history. The Democrat Party has vowed to do that because these corrupt companies have contributed to their campaign coffers. Okay. Meanwhile, America is in a health crisis, and it is a major health crisis. No other country puts poison, quite literally poison, in their food. No other country does that. European countries don't do that. Canada doesn't do it. They called him a quack and they said, oh, he's going after Fruit Loops. And he compared Canadian Fruit Loops to America's Fruit Loops. And in America's Fruit Loops, we put all kinds of like additive food colorings and things like that. And I know the libertarians are going to be like, Cat, you're you're pro RFK Jr. coming in and being an authoritarian in this country. And regulating food and telling businesses that they can't put certain things in their products. That's a slippery slope. And I understand that, but your freedoms end where mine begin. These companies cannot continue to poison you because that is ending your freedom of your life, right? That is ending your life. And your freedoms end where mine begin. And if you are really nefariously, because I think that big food, big pharma, they're all in on it together, and they want you sick. So that way you have to go and get on medication that continues to make you more sick. And it's just everybody's getting rich and you're the one suffering. So I hope RFK Jr. can figure out something, strike a balance between, regulation of what you can put in the food, what kind of medicines you can provide people. But the CNN panelist here that Scott Jennings calls out, they will not go after these big pharma companies or big food companies because these companies contribute to Democrats and their campaign coffers, and they can't run the risk of losing the Democrat Party. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Remember that, the media. So I gotta go. You guys have a blessed rest of your day. Find me on YouTube, find me on Rumble, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. You guys have a blessed rest of your day, a blessed Monday. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. Bye-bye.